Hello, wonderful you, and thanks for joining me. Cambell here from Spiral Up, and today we have another interview, and we've got Howdie Mickoski. No doubt many of you would have heard of Howdie and his work. Obviously, he's done a bit on the history side of the old world, but also a lot on the spiritual philosophy side of things, and that's what we're going to jump into today and have a chat about what's going on, where are we, maybe what can we do about it, and what it's like to live in clown world. So welcome, Howdie. How are you?
Hi, Cambell. Thanks for having me on again. We did a history talk, I guess, a few months ago.
A few months, yeah.
And like I was saying, it's great to see what you're doing now and on the Spiral Up channel. Even though you've had it for a year, I've just known about it recently. And you're presenting. And most importantly, for the people watching this, is one of the things I like about what Cambell's doing on this channel is it's not just in the air sort of ideas. They're very grounded, down to earth kind of things that are really should be a part of people's journey. So I like that down to earth presentation that you're making.
Well, thank you. That was definitely my aim, to get away from the whole, internet guru kind of woo-woo kind of thing, that's kind of what I put on it as, practical spirituality for everyday use. I just want it to be things that people can use. People spend so much time, reading books and watching, webinars and all this stuff. Most of the time they end up out of pocket for it, and they don't really make any real change.
No.
In that industry, I think that the actual change rate of people that make a long-lasting change is around 3%. And it's probably one of the most, expensive industries to buy into. Right. So it's, definitely wanted to do something different than that. Yeah. So
it's my whole book, Falling for Truth. That's a lot of what's in there, is that the spiritual marketplace is really designed to sell hope and feeling better without any really long, like you say, nothing that's long lasting. It's all short term, feel better in the moment. But what does long term change or long term transformation look like, and what does it require? And it requires some work. It requires some grounded, down to earth work, and that doesn't sell. So that's why people like us have to talk in places like this, where hopefully some people who are tired of that come and hear what we have to say and maybe find something that's useful from what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a place for using your body, shall we say, because obviously you can change your three main bodies. We've got our spirit, mind, and physical. So you can use your body. You can get energy up and jump around and go yeah. But that's not it's not a lasting thing. And the last thing you want to do is pay someone 10 grand to stand in a hall and jump up and down for 2 days, and then be sitting at home 3 weeks later going, well, now I'm in debt, with no practical thing to do. Nothing. And this is what really gets me about it, that whole sort of scene. I mean, that, and the other thing, that the other sort of reason, the other sort of thing I want to do with this channel is, we started off back in, with the older sort of type people in the 50s who were sort of teaching sort of self-improvement type things. And that what they were teaching was good and it worked. But then we have teachers come along and they say, oh, I can make money off that. But what they can't do is copy. So they have to change it a little bit. And then someone goes, oh, they're making money, I'll just change that a little bit. And then you extrapolate that, 30, 40 years. And what they're teaching now is just so removed from the truth and from practical things and practical steps. And then, like I said, they just want to charge you money for it and charge you money for it. And the other thing is, suddenly it's like, come in here and, to improve yourself and become a better person. And then suddenly it's just money, accumulate, which is the furthest thing from, spirituality that there is. So Yeah, I think we've been led down the down the garden path a little bit on sort of that. Yeah.
But somehow too, I think with what's been going on now in the last year and a half for people, a lot of people are starting to see that the world situation is kind of pushing them in a new direction. Many aren't, of course, they're just following, but because of this feeling of this push and this squeezing and this change of energy and this change of everything, I think more people are looking to, I think a lot of, not a lot, but many people are starting to look for something that's a deeper answer rather than just where they've been in the last time. So I also think there's a great opportunity for sharing, um, information that maybe wasn't going to be as well received 10 or 20 years ago.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I think, like you said, it's people want actual results now, that they do want to make a change. Because I mean, well, look around, you don't have much, option at this point. Where back in, 10, 20 years ago, a lot of this sort of, self-help scene was, people sitting around having book clubs and things, and like this whole, let's meet and read a book, and what did you think of that? No, isn't this person great? And it was just like Hollywood, really, wasn't it? They turn them all into stars, and you have the stars of the scene, and they, can charge more money, and I don't know, it's just really really gets me, especially when you see people who literally, they lose their life savings, some people, into these schemes, and the people running them don't seem to care. They're like, oh yeah, have a go, you can do it. Oh, well, you failed. Well, that's your fault, because, and this is the thing, it's like no responsibility. It's, well, read the book again. What are you talking about? You've got the book.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the things some of the really good stuff are so simple. I was having a talk yesterday with a gentleman from England, he's been having, his life is really challenging. It's been really tough for a while, and I've been trying to help him take a few small steps up. And the things I've suggested to do after our conversations would seem really simplistic. They're very, very small. They take like 10 minutes of his day, but even already in 2 or 3 weeks, there has actually been change. The person I was speaking to yesterday is totally different now already from the person I talked to 3 weeks ago. And that was from putting in 20 minutes a day. So it's also, I think, showing you that you don't have to go to extreme lengths. You don't have to do things that, certainly at the beginning, that are unbelievably difficult. They just have to be right for you, things that you feel comfortable doing, and things that you will do every day, that you won't cheat on. Yeah. And I think if you find those things, stuff will happen for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big point, is, make it something that, that gels with you, that you want to do, that, you're excited about. That's another thing, isn't it? They give you all these sort of rules, and do this, and it's all blah, 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 step by step. But really, it's, every journey is personal, and it's all, it's like you said, it's taking little steps. The journey of 1,000 miles, starts with the first step, and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be this change your life, which is what is sold to us. You can change overnight. You can change in a month. You can change in a year. You can be someone totally different. Rah, 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 rah. But they don't talk about the journey. It's just like, just do this. And if you don't have, you see, the thing about a journey is you're going to have a lot of challenges. You're going to have, the universe, challenging you. Are you sure you want this? Well, really? But if you don't have the tools to, to get through that, then you're dead in the water. And that again is a big part that they miss out on. It's like, do all this positive stuff and goal setting and rah, 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 write things down. But they don't tell you, look, when things stop or they're not going your way, what do you do then? How do you, get back up? How do you keep motivated? Rah, rah, rah. Yeah, I mean, it's just all rah, 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 isn't it? And we need...
I'll be curious. I'm going to give you mine. I'll be curious to know what would be your one. If you were going to give one suggestion to people, what would that suggestion be? And I'll tell you, I'll do mine first so you have time to think about it. My one suggestion would be to use everything that's happening in your life, whether it's an exercise you've chosen, whether it's an experience that's happening, to take time to look within and say, what's really going on within me now? Well, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And why? Well, without labeling it, without judging it good or bad. It's this using your experience to gain like an inventory of the self you've never known who you really are, starting this idea of everything that's going on at the beginning is getting an understanding of me, how I operate, how I think, because then to me that begins your ability later on to start making the choices that what's good for me as an exercise, what's not good for me as an exercise, because you now know who you are. But like you said at the beginning, you have to go through all of these challenges, all of this stuff to start just figuring out, well, what is this thing I look in the mirror at every day? And that would be my number one thing. I'm curious what yours would be.
Yeah, I mean, mine would be similar, but I would probably go more the action route. I mean, obviously, decide what you think you want to do at that time, but then take a step. Like understand it's not. It may seem scary, but what's the worst that could happen? Is you can fail, but fail doesn't exist, right? It's just a mistake. Mistakes don't exist. They're just mistakes. So I think a lot of people, are just held back by that. They just don't want to take that first step. And the other thing is if you make a decision and it's like, I'm going to do this, you can change your mind if you don't like it.
Right.
I think people are just, we're programmed, right? I mean, when we're growing up, it's like, what are you going to be when you're older? What are you going to be when you grow up? We're programmed that when we make a decision, it's got to be that's it. It's final. That's for the rest of your life. So I think, the more things that we try and fail at, make mistakes of, the easier it is to then try other things. And the more things, we try, then obviously the easier it is to find the path that is of least resistance, shall we say. So, yeah, I'd say, I mean, obviously, like how he said, to find out what it is you want to do, but then just step out, just take a chance. And each time you do it, it will get easier and easier. And until one day you're just like, oh, yeah, let's do that. And it just happens, So I think that's one of the things that hold a lot of people back is just that first step. So,
yeah. Yeah, one thing I learned a lot from Richard Rose, one of the teachers I came to really enjoy, was it's not just his importance of commitment, which is kind of what you're talking about, doing something, being committed to something, but his was interesting, which is valuable for all of us, was learning how to get commitment. So it's not even at the beginning, because if you had commitment, you'd be doing everything you want to do anyway. So his first step was actually learning how to have commitment, and it was incredible. He would suggest to people, okay, for the next 7 days, I want you to take a walk around the block every night after dinner. Like, that's it. Or, do the dishes every night after dinner and make sure the dishes are all done before you, like something simplistic for like 7 days. But the point he was making is once you've done that for 7 days, you've proved you can stick to your word, you can do what you set your mind to, and you will start to feel a little bit of power that you can move into the next commitment and the bigger one, a bigger one, and a bigger one. So it's also really interesting, again, this idea of start small, but complete your task over a small period of time and prove to yourself that you can do it. He was like, don't say you're going to stop smoking if you can't walk around the block once for a week. Do that first, prove you can do that, and then move on to the bigger thing. So it was also just what you've just said, and he was presenting it in simplistic terms like that.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's something I've just started saying recently quite a bit is, we either prove ourselves right or we prove ourselves wrong, and that's really the game, isn't it? It's like that's like the first step. If you think you can do something and then you take a step out and you try it or whatever, then you're going to prove that you can or you can't. But if you believe you can't, then that's what you're going to prove. And if you believe you can, then that's what you're going to prove. So, this is, and that's kind of why the name of the channel is Spiral Up, because when we prove ourselves wrong, we spiral down. When we prove ourselves right, we spiral up. Well, that's actually not correct. But when we prove ourselves right in a positive way, we spiral up. And in a negative way, we spiral down, because it's like if you think, oh, the world's a horrible place, then your reticular activating system will point out the horrible things and you'll prove yourself right. And you go, yes, it is bad. See? And then you'll point out more. See, yes, I'm right. And down you go. And it's the same for the other way up. So, yeah, I think that action, and also the big thing is look at them as mistakes. That there are no mistakes. It's just all learning, just mistakes. So whatever you do, you're going to win anyway as long as you keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, but definitely baby steps, I think, is something, I mean, like I said, we've been programmed that we can have it all now. And they put up these people, oh, look, you made $1 million in a week. And, but when you look at it, I mean, how many, even if that's true, how many people could you grab together that have done that? And then, as a percentage out of the world population, it's not a lot of people. So it's not really practical. It's not real. So we need to understand it is a journey, and journeys start with small steps, and those small steps are all about proving yourself right. And that builds confidence, prove yourself right again, and off you go. Yeah.
And it's also this question that I've asked a few people now that have come for help from me, and they can never answer it when I ask them. And I'd be curious how many people who can answer it who are watching this now. And it's very simple. What do you want? Like if I say in 6 months' time, what do you want? The average person, I don't know. I've never thought like that. Or they might say, well, my family is not your family. You personally. What do you personally want from whatever it is you're going to start doing? And bizarrely, that's also one of the first steps is, like you say, getting to know where your mind is wanting to direct you. Because if you have no, at least idea, like you said, and you can change it at any time, but at least you've got to have something of where you think you want to moving towards. Where are you actually moving? You're probably just going in a circle. You're just going to spiral. You're not actually going to spiral. You're just going to go round, round, round like a record. So I think that's another important, to take some time to actually see, why am I interested in this stuff? Why do I want to do these exercises? What do I think I'm going to get out of it? Because at least gives you an idea again of what direction are you thinking of heading in.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question, isn't it? As far as, this topic of, spirituality or whatever you want to call it, is why are you doing it? What's the point? What are you here for? What do you want to learn? What's the end game? Like, where are you going? I mean, that's a really good question. Because I suppose when you define that, then you're going to tune your mind in, your reticular activating system, and you'll pick up more of what you're looking for, and you'll get down the road faster.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's something I actually haven't thought about. That's a great point.
It's not only, and then it's not only what you want, it's also this bizarre thing. Like, let's say somebody throws a big word out there. Why do you want to do it? I want to be enlightened. Okay, what does that mean? And often people will have an answer for it. They'll say, it means this and this and this. Well, actually, you don't know that. That's something you read in a book. But you have instead, it's better to have a direction of you're going in this potential direction you've heard about, but you don't know what the end of that direction is. Because if you have an end box of what you think it is, I want this particular box, then you've done two things. You have either limited yourself because you said, I only want this and not what else other potentials there are. And you've also decided that you might be, even if you get it, you don't know that that's what's really true or not, like you say at the beginning, because you may have just manufactured your mental idea into something else, as opposed to having a direction. I know where I want to go, but it's kind of open-ended. I'm not really sure what that end looks like. And part of the journey is I'm curious to see what it does look like if I get there.
Yeah, like the whole defining thing, isn't it? It's it's a funny way. Like, I guess that they've got us thinking in terms of material things, haven't they? And so it's like, what do you want to be, or where do you want to be? And it's like, I want to be, on a farm with a car and all this kind of stuff, where really it's more of it's a mental construct. It's a vibration, like where do you want to be as a person? Like, how do you want to see the world? Like, because really, when you do that, everything else that's associated will, gravitate towards that anyway. If you want to, be abundant or whatever, that's part of it, then you don't have to really think about accumulating, money and the car. So, yeah. I guess it's a bit like, what do you want to become? Like in the end game, but understanding that you're never actually going to get there. It's a journey. It's like, the people who know the most are are the stupidest people in the world, right? Because when you know everything, you can't learn anything, you know. So
Right.
it's if you define where you're going, then you can't really go there. You know, you sort of limited yourself and into a box. So yeah, it's an interesting one, that one, isn't it? It's sort of define it, but I guess in non-physical terms. I mean, definitely you can have physical things in there, but it's more the journey of who do you want to become.
I think that would be the perfect question there. That who do you want to become? That's as you know. It's. I think that was a Mr. Eckhart quote too. It's something like, it's not knowing what you want to do, but who you want to become. Something like that.
Nice.
And that's exactly what Campbell just said. And if you have that in your mind, which again can change as life goes on, but it gives you a really good direction to start determining what are the like you say, what are the things you want to be doing then in order to move in that direction. Because again, Campbell, I think, is bang on. It's all about stuff you do. You can't just wish yourself there. You can't just, positive think yourself there. You can't, you tangibly have to do some things, and that can be difficult. It can be fun, but it can also be difficult, and that's okay.
It's just part of the journey. I think this is one of the main things is we're so, like I said before, it's so instilled that there's an end point when there isn't. People think, oh, when I get there, I will have made it. You hear this kind of talk all the time. And then we see all these empty people, it's like, when I'm a millionaire, it'll all be great. And we see them as a millionaire and they're like this lost soul who doesn't know what's going on, because they're only, I suppose if your only goal is physical and material, then that's pretty much the extent of the joy you can get from it. And we all know, you buy a new car and no matter how cool it is, in 6 months, it's not as cool, so the physical, degrades really, doesn't it? Where the mental and the higher frequencies expand and get bigger. So it's, if you focus on who you want to become, then you're focusing on possibilities rather than definite spots. And a definite spot, like Howdie said, that's in a box. That's got walls around it, and so it's just a gilded cage, really. So, who do you want to become?
Like, I know when I started this 20 years ago, more than that now, when I started my work, because I had a few focuses, and of course, my underlying foundation focus for me at the time was I wanted to know the secret of ancient Egypt. So I knew Egypt had a secret, and I wanted to try to figure out what that was. And then I had these secondary roots on top of it of, how was I going to help do that? And one area was I wanted to know my mind. I wanted to know how my mind operated. And the other was I wanted to test reality. I wanted to see if reality was actually real. And so I had these layers of exercises that I did on a daily basis, doing one of these two things, trying to understand the mind and then trying to literally test the realness of reality. And none of them I would consider to be difficult. Like, they were not overly complex, but as you did them, they were not easy. They pushed you, and they pushed me in a lot of really tough places, particularly when you start testing reality and find out it's not really solid, find out it's not really what you think it is. That puts you in a challenging place. So it's also some of this stuff that, like sort of Campbell's saying, it's not just about getting yourself better or getting things. It's really about answering some deeper questions that you have of this idea of who do you want to become, and who you want to become has to be somebody who knows something at a truer, deeper level. And what is that? What are those things you want to know? I mean, somebody might want to know it's about themselves. Others want to know about reality. Others want to know about God. Some wants to know about death. It doesn't matter what it is, but there's everyone has this underlying question that's kind of there if you look for it. And I think that should also be part of your direction. That part of what you do should be, can you get maybe not the whole answer to that question, but can you get pieces of it?
I mean, I guess ultimately what are we doing down here is, if you want to take it that far, isn't it? And I think most people would agree, if you think there's more to life than just, that we're more, I think everyone would agree that we're down here to learn lessons and to grow, to expand. So, I mean, that's the game, isn't it? It's who do you want to become? How do you want to grow? What mark do you want to leave? How do you want to be remembered? because, you know, a lot of people aren't even remembered because they're too scared to take the first step. And so that they kind of exist, but they don't make a mark. And, you know, other people rant and rave and make a mark, but, you know, they're not remembered well. So, you know, we get the chance to, you know, especially living in this time, I've said it a few times, this is going to be written about for, you know, probably read about for thousands of years, if not hundreds at least. You know, where do you want to be? Do you want to be in that book? You know, this is the thing. How do you want to be remembered? Because at the time, you know, that we find ourselves now, we can, you know, we really can make big changes. Everything's, you know, falling apart, and it's really I would say in flux. We're in a point where we get to choose, you know, what our actions and thoughts are is going to build the new world. So, yeah, I mean, if you think of it that way, how do you want to be remembered, right?
Yeah. Or of course, we've got this idea that I've talked about a few times, this idea that of how the Hopi might see this, and the Hopi prophecy, and that they had prophesied there would come a time when the worlds were going to split, when this one world would become two worlds. It would become there would be a material world and a spiritual world that actually literally would be two separate worlds. It's not like they're commingling. And they had claimed that you would be able to make changes for many, many years, but at a certain point of time, whichever side of that equation you're on, that's the world you're now going to be in. And they had a whole set of what they called ways of living that would allow you to be on what they wanted you to be, is on the spiritual, natural side of the equation. And we're already kind of seeing that. If you really start looking at the world, you are seeing already literally this segregated world. Even though we both we all are still going to the same grocery store still, and still in the same roads and in the same cities, the mindset of people now is in two completely different camps. And it's like there's almost no ability now to converse with each other. So it's almost like now this prophecy, and almost it's like you're starting to slowly see it becoming a bit concrete. And I'm wondering, will there be a time when it literally just goes, where did all those people go? There were like thousands of people here, and now it's just me and this guy and this girl across the street, and we're it. And I'm wondering now more if they were this was not metaphorical, if they were talking in very clear terms.
Well, I mean, obviously you've heard the term NPC. That's just come out of nowhere, and that's huge. But this has come up a lot. And I was listening to an interview from Laura. I'm not sure if you know Laura and Sonia from Tree of Knowledge. And Laura was saying she got on a bus. She was getting on a bus and she was trying to pay, like, for her ticket. And the bus driver just wasn't responding to her. And she was, you know, saying, here's my money. And then she said someone walked on behind her and walked up, and the bus driver looked straight at her and went, yeah, here's a ticket. And Laura's going, hello. And she said she had to start poking her, because she said literally this person, it was like they couldn't see her. And she said it was like I was in a different realm, you know, like she couldn't see me. It's weird. I had this experience when I was at the hospital one time, and I was walking down the hallway, and there was two doctors, and they were just walking down the hallway with their boards, and they were sort of talking, and they were kind of walking slow. So I was walking behind them, and I kind of went beside them because they were walking slowly, and they got up to a door, and they both stopped, spun on their heels, and walked back without taking a break or a breath. They just got there, spun around, and just started walking back the other way, just talking. And they didn't notice that I was there. And it was just like they were, like they had like a little route, you know. I could just imagine they just walked this little route all day. That's all they did.
Like movie extras.
Yeah, like movie extras. It was just bizarre. And I've heard quite a few. So this is the thing. How real is this? I mean, I've heard more than that. I've heard quite a few strange. I mean, Martin goes into it a lot. He says he's just, he's living in a world of robots pretty much. So, I mean, and if that's the perspective, then guys, anyone watching, you know, it's not what side of history do you want to be on, it's what side of the vibration do you want to be on. And I guess this is, you know, people talk about going from 3D to 4D or 5D and all this, and this, you know, we could be living it. I mean, I definitely wouldn't bet against it. It's,
you know, again, the challenge of it all is, you know, there's lots of this stuff. Oh, we'll be going to this higher vibrational frequency and it'll all be better because this world isn't real. And well, then how do you know the next world will be real? It's that trick, how Neo got tricked in the Matrix, right? He took the pill, he left the one world. Oh, that old world was a lie, that was false. But he never, then his mistake, right? He didn't check the new world of Morpheus and Trinity and the Nebuchadnezzar and whatever. Is this a real world? He accepted the new world automatically, as opposed to, how do I test this world?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I got 1,000 of those stories from my years. Like a bus story just came up. My bus story that came up was, this was, 15, 16 years ago. I'm just walking on a street in Calgary, and I've been doing this exercise of extreme awareness of the surroundings. So I'm very aware. This kind of drunk guy is at a bus stop. The bus comes up, he gets on it, and he's walking really strangely, like, is he drunk? Does he not know how to walk? Is he, he just didn't seem right. And it was so odd to see it. Okay. Experience. I kept walking till I got to the next bus stop, and I'm walking at a nice, calm, leisurely pace. At the next bus stop, the same guy's there. The bus pulls up. The exact same experience happens again. One more time.
Wow.
And it's a different bus stop. I'm so aware. I know the stores are different. It's not like I just hallucinated and did the thing again. I mean, literally, I had walked 5 minutes or whatever, 2 minutes to the next bus stop, and it happened again.
That's like in the Matrix when Neo sees the black cat.
Right.
That's
exactly what it felt like
Wow.
And it was so unique. It's not like it was just a person getting on a bus. I mean, this was so odd, you couldn't possibly not notice it. So I have tons of those. And again, you're back to, okay, how do we react in a reality that we have been told for so long is a particular way, reacts a particular way, or doesn't react a particular way, is here for this purpose or that purpose. But when we start to see, well, really, we don't really know reality. We don't know ourselves, but we actually don't know this thing we interact with. So it's another part of this journey, and why the journey is actually wide open, because there is 10,000 different ways you can go in it, 10,000 different ways you can take your exploration and your understanding of it. If you want to go in any of those areas, it's just, again, where do you want to go? How do you want to do it? What interests you? Because it's better to do the things that interest you as exercise. You should meditate every day, but I don't like it. I sit down and it just, well, then don't do it. Do something else. Don't do what someone else tells you to do. Do something that you've been suggested and see if you resonate with it. And continue it if you do, and don't if you don't. Simple.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, they say if it's not simple, it's not the truth. If it doesn't, feel right, then stop doing it. And this is the thing, we're all different, which is one of my gripes with, the whole industry, like, this is the way forward, this is the way forward. Well, that might be the way you went forward, but it doesn't mean it's the way that I can go forward, because we're all different. We're pretty much all in our own world with our own perspective of the realm. And so, what's right for me is not necessarily right for you or for Howdy. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. So, yeah, that's why this whole thing is a journey, of exploration, really, of ourselves, finding out. And, it's like I'm getting all these sayings that pop out all the time. But the statue's not finished when there's nothing more to add. It's finished when there's nothing more to take away. So this whole, it's a game of getting rid of all the, the propaganda that's been lumped on us our whole lives, and getting back to basics and saying, okay, so what do I really like? I've been told, that I like this and this and this, but do I really, what really, makes me feel good? What really inspires me? What makes me feel like I'm, in tune, part of the whole, and go that route. And this is, why I say just try stuff. Just try it. If it doesn't feel good, try something else. And if you keep doing that, you'll eventually get there. But I'm sure it won't take that long. So it's definitely.
I hope people realize how good this kind of advice is. I hope the people listening really get it, because this really is it. The thousands of books that are out there that try to present the formula are doing the exact opposite what Cambell just said, which is your journey is specific. This is a way that can be helpful, but maybe not for you.
And it may be the answer. You may open the first book and go, wow, I've got it, and it might work, or it might take 10 or 20, or you might get a bit here and a bit there out of 100 books. But yeah, that's the thing. It's all a personal journey, and it's just whatever works for you, works for you. So get out there, try it, believe in you. And remember, it's no mistakes, just mistakes, you know. Take one, take two, keep going and see where you end up. And yeah.
And I really do believe we have a great opportunity now. For as crazy as everything is, I don't think this reality can get this insane as it is, and it's going to get worse, of course. You know, we're at the not even at the cusp yet of the insanity. I don't think it can be doing that if there isn't a doorway here at the same time, one way, whatever that doorway is, whether it's Hopi or right, or there's a portal to another realm, or there's a ability to break the bubble of consciousness, or whatever. Something must be here that humans could access, and a lot of this craziness is simply designed to keep you away from it, to keep you distracted from what's actually here and available right now. So it's also, I'm reminding a lot of people, things might be really tough now, and they might be challenging, and they might get really worse, but please don't forget, there is an opportunity. You may not see it. You may not see the doorway today, but maybe in a week or a month you will. And so keep your eyes open for this great possibility that might be there for you, and then don't be afraid to walk into it, whatever it might be.
Exactly. And trust yourself, you know, listen to yourself. There's lots of voices at the moment telling you you're wrong, but we're telling you you're not. You know, whatever you think is right for you, you know, walk your own path. You know, that's where we are. We've all got to decide where we're going and have, you know, the courage, I guess, to take the first few steps and to keep going and, you know, really get out there and create the world we want and not be confuzzled by all the, you know, all the crap that's going on. Because, you know, like Howdie said, that's just to confuse us and to keep us focusing on what they want us to focus on. And that way we're not, you know, finding our true path and doorways or whatever might be waiting for us out there.
I would be curious, given that you're in Australia, what sort of the Aboriginal elders might be saying about the time we're in right now, given their knowledge of the dream time and the way they've presented things, like sort of not the ones who are, you know, writing books and making money, the ones who are still out there living the traditional ways, what they're saying about where we are and where we're going.
Yeah, so would I. I haven't thought of that. I do know some people that know some people, so I will look into that. I might even be able to hopefully hook up a chat. Yeah, I've got something. Yeah, I've got something. Yeah, I've got someone I can talk to, so I'll look into that.
Because I'm sure I would be really curious to hear what way they are seeing.
Yeah, well, they talk so much about, you know, the dream time, don't they? That would be an interesting perspective, especially, you know, since I live down here, I should really know the laws of the land. But yeah. So
I just thought of it and said, "Oh, who's got the best access to this guy?"
I'm sitting here.
So let's see what he's got going on. Yeah.
All right. Assignment accepted. All right. Well, yeah. I hope. Yeah. You got something from that, guys. It actually took us 2 or 3 days to get on. The world was against us, but we got here, and I think, you know, Howdie said before we got on that, you know, there must be something, you know, that good we got to bring out that they're trying to stop us saying, and I think we got there. I think there was a lot of truth, but simple, you know, understandable truth. So yeah, I hope you got something.
And we didn't give one exercise. We didn't give one thing that anybody should do. We just gave really important generalizations that it's good for you to think about and say, does any of this make sense to you? And if so, how could you build it in, like you say, build it into your own personal path and way to start going forward. And of course, if for some reason somebody has questions or something, you know, you can always reach out to me or Cambell probably, and we can offer our suggestion on your more specific question that, you know, that's kind of what we're here to try to do, is share a little bit with everybody as much as possible and make this journey together.
Definitely. Any questions you've got, guys, if you leave them below, you know, we can tally them up and maybe I'll hit Howdie up for another chat and we can go through them and just to sort of get a perspective of where everyone is and what they're looking at and you know, it might be.
That's a great idea, actually. Why not? Yeah, ask people to leave some questions. Then, where did this talk bring up, or ideas that came up, or questions you have? Leave them in the comments, and then we could answer them together as another follow up in a couple of weeks. That's a great idea.
There you go, guys. Decision's been made. You must leave us feedback. What did this bring up? What did you think of it? And questions, basically. So, and we'll grab the top sort of, 10 or 15 questions. We'll go through them in a couple of weeks and hopefully help you all get through this a bit more, through the confusion. Like Howdie said, that's what we're here to do. So thank you, Howdie, for your time and your wisdom. We got there in the end, so thank you again.
Thanks again, Cambell, and keep putting this great stuff up on your channels. It's I've been enjoying keeping track of them, and I guess we'll see everybody maybe in a few weeks.
Yes, in a few weeks. Yes. Well, thanks for your kind words and your time, and I'll be in contact. And leave your questions below, and we'll be back in a few weeks. All right. Thanks, Howdie.